That's just unbelievable, mate. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge, and this is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news. We're a little bit early tonight because it's the final night of the Champions League, and you can join me for that mayhem on That's Football straight after this. But we are ready to go on Man United transfer news as Tel gets closer to a Manchester United move. Apparently, this is where he wants to go, according to reports. We'll get into all of that, but he is actually starting for Bayern Munich tonight in a game that they do need to win. So what's that all about? I think we're being played, but look, that's just an opinion. It's certainly not backed up, and there is Ornstein, Romano, and other people talking about it. We've got an update on Garnacho from Romano as well. We've got an update on Casemiro from a Spanish journalist with 2 million followers on Twitter. What's he saying about Casemiro, and what you saying about the last few days of Manchester United's transfer window? We're going to start off with Tel, of course, and of course, all of your stuff. I just want to apologise. I'm in absolute agony. I don't know whether anyone's ever had this injury. It's a weird one. Like, the back of my heel has got really hard skin and then it's cracked and it's like an open wound. It's really painful. Anyway, it's probably a bit too much information if you're having your dinner. I've had mine already. It was chilly. And that don't mean it was cold. Anyway, let's get into the show. Aren't we notorious for being slow on transfers, says Rohan? We are. But, before we get into all of that, by the way, I must not digress from the fact that we are sponsored by the legends that are Manscaped. 20% off with the code TUS20. Free worldwide shipping with that code as well. So you get free worldwide shipping. That means delivery, free worldwide delivery. 20% off as well with the code TUS20. Trim the grass to make the yard look bigger down there, up there, over here, everything. They are precision engineering for your family jewels, but also they've got male grooming down locked. They are trusted by over 2 million men worldwide, and you can be one of them. So many products: the beard trimmer, the lawnmower. They've got one for up your nose, which is the weed whacker. Big differences, real quality. Check it out through the link in the description or scanning the QR code. Get 20% off with the code TUS20 and free worldwide shipping. You will not regret it. Thank you very much, you got to Manscaped. Just wanted to say thanks for all you do, mate, says Farouk. Well, as I say so many times, thanks for all of you, the original goats, the original community. There's many out there now. There's many who copy, but there is only the originals, and that is you. You're absolutely bloody brilliant, as I keep telling you. But let's get into the show. What is the latest with Tel? Well, I'm just going to go through the summary of what everybody's saying, and then we can sort of discuss what we think, because there's a lot to be reported on in relation to Tel since when Beth was live at 2 o'clock. What a view that was as well. In Bucharest, from the top of the hotel. What a background. It was absolutely fantastic. But let's talk to you about Tel. So, Tel wants to join Man United. This is sort of what's been floating around all afternoon. What are people saying? Well, Tel is starting for Bayern Munich tonight, despite being willing to leave. That is obviously just breaking now. Manchester United and Tottenham are among 7 clubs calling for Mathys Tel in the last 24 hours as a potential loan option. That's coming in from Fabrizio Romano. Manchester United are interested in a potential move for Tel, should he be made available to leave on loan before the transfer window closes. That's coming in from David Ornstein. David Ornstein also goes on to say that United are not actively progressing the situation while they focus on departures, but signing Tel on loan carries appeal at Old Trafford. There's been contact between United and Tel's representatives, but not with Bayern Munich at the moment. Also, we've got a little bit about Barcelona and Marcus Rashford to bring you as well. I'd forgotten to mention that at the start. So, exciting. I actually feel that with Dorgu in, it gives us a little bit of leeway in relation to we've got Dorgu, let's see what else we can do. So I feel a little bit more positive today than I did 2 days ago to have Dorgu there, and Garnacho's not left. So I actually don't. It's not the transfer window I wanted, but Beth's in the press conference actually, probably as we speak. Hopefully she'll get a question, because the question we want to ask Amorim is this the transfer window you envisaged when you got the job? I mean, hello, welcome to the United Stand. We think of good questions for our managers. Fingers crossed she gets a question, because I would love to know the answer to that question. Imagine asking a good question of Amorim. Is this the transfer window you expected when you signed for Man United in November? I don't know whether it'll get to ask it, but you know, I don't think it's the transfer window I expected. I would have expected Rashford, Casemiro, Antony gone. And I would have expected Dorgu and at least one other in. 3 out, 2 in. I think that's fair enough. At the moment, we're 1 out, 1 in. But I'm hoping in the next few days things can happen. David Ornstein and Fabrizio Romano talking about Tel gives Plettigol credit. I mean, this morning I was sort of like, is Plettigol and his German contacts, using Bayern and Man United to just generate a bit of interest in him? But the fact that Fabrizio and David Ornstein have come in, credit where it's due. Plettigol broke the deal, broke the story. I still think we're being played, though. I don't think we're being played. I don't think we're as high up the race as people think. I've heard people saying he wants to come to Man United. I've heard all this before. I've heard people saying Man United are going to get the deal done. I've heard all this before. I listened to David Ornstein, and what he is saying is that, yeah, we'd love to do this deal on loan, but we can't do this deal until we get rid of people. And unfortunately, as somebody said in the chat, when you snooze, you lose. And we're not in a position here where we're the only horse in the race. As Fabrizio said, there's 7 teams looking at this. And what will happen is, if Bayern Munich decide they want to do a deal with somebody, and Man United knock on the door, and Bayern say, show us the readies, and they go, we've got to do some stuff first, it will hinder us, because other clubs can probably go, let's get moving now. So I don't know. I hope he wants to come to Man United, and I hope that he waits for Man United until we can move somebody out and we can get him in on loan. But, I mean, I don't want to sell Garnacho and get a player on loan, by the way. I mean, whether it's Nkunku or Tel, I don't want anybody on loan as a replacement for a permanent signing going out. But I'd like to keep Garnacho, get Tel, and get rid of Rashford. That's what I would like to do. So yeah, it'd be very, very interesting. It's mad what's going on with Arsenal and Ollie Watkins, isn't it, as well? I mean, Louis says that they've just had a £74 million bid rejected after 60. So, I mean, that's a lot of money. But fair play to Arsenal. You know what? Fair play. Fair play to Arsenal. You need a striker. You go and get a striker in the middle of the season where it can make a difference on your finish. It's almost like Man United should be doing that, isn't it? I worry about signings like this, Tel, says Dion. 60 million, 60 Premier League games, 60 Bundesliga games, 12 goals. It's like trading a forward who can't score for another. Problem not solved. He's only 19 though, mate. There's a lot of potential there. You look at Isak, he wasn't scoring goals in the in La Liga. JHP says, if Rashi doesn't go, what do you think we do? We have to play him, otherwise value will plummet. I also see news about Obi Martin being promoted. I'm worried it will be too soon. No, you don't play Rashford to keep his value up. You don't play Rashford because he can't be asked in training. So if he can be asked in training, he would have been playing games and putting his value up. We can't just put people in the shop window. We're not in a position to do that. Off topic, says Alex, but my wife disagrees with calling Rashford the scapegoat for Player FC because a scapegoat means he's innocent, which he is not. Thank you very much, Alex. There we go. Very, very big. Ruben Amrin with a quote says, Fade, I said I will not put any player that doesn't give the maximum. I did not say I will not play Marcus Rashford. We are a better team with Marcus Rashford. I know that, says Fade. It's starting to change, isn't it? It's starting to change. He's been told off. If he said that, I'm sorry. That's a worrying sign because that is, he's been told off. He's been told off then. I don't know whether that's true, but I'm only reading what's in the chat. But if Amrim is now saying we're a better team with Rashford in it and etc., that's a guy that's been told off by the club and backed down, isn't it? I mean, look, I love Amrim, but we've seen this before. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer says on Sunday that that he needs to. I'm just reading it now. I've got it now. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said Rashford needs to focus on his self. And then the next day, he was the next press conference. He was apologising. I'm going to read it out to you now. Let's talk about Rashford anyway, because we've spoken about Tel there. We'll have to wait and see what happens. But the latest with Marcus Rashford sort of coming out at the moment is. Let me just get this for you. So I've got that quote. We'll come back to that. So the latest on Rashford's coming in from Sam Wallace, which I think means it's from The Telegraph. Sam Wallace in The Telegraph and Matt Law in The Telegraph. Man United are in tentative talks with Barcelona over a loan deal for Rashford. There remains doubt over whether Barcelona can do the agreement in time for Monday's deadline due to their financial struggles. I mean, look, I seriously... I don't know what we are as a football club if we're going back. I really don't. I don't know. I mean, look, Rashford could come back in the team, try really hard, score a few goals. Of course he could. Of course he could. But it doesn't feel like we're moving forward. Should we get Casemiro back in the team as well? Maybe give Lindelof a new contract. It's the same thing. Are we moving forward or not? And I think that's the thing that I would say. So... I'm just going to read this quote out. Let me get it. So, Ruben Amorim on his comments on Sunday where he said he'd rather use the 63-year-old goalkeeping coach than Marcus Rashford. He says, the situation is the same for every player. My sentence was that I wouldn't put any player that doesn't give the maximum. I didn't say only Marcus Rashford. So, look, he's doubling down. That's not what was said. Come on. When we put that in the live chat, you've sort of, you know, let's get accurate here. He's not apologising. He's basically saying the situation is the same. My sentence would be the same for any player that wasn't working hard. I didn't say only Marcus Rashford. So what he's saying is Marcus Rashford isn't working hard. I would rather put the goalkeeping coach on the pitch. But I'd say that about anybody who's not working hard as well. So he's not saying, I mean, what is he saying? You're saying exactly what you said. Rashford isn't trying hard in training. And you'd rather play a 63-year-old. So he's not actually apologising. He said, we're a better team with him, that's clear, but until the right moment, I won't change my mind. And, you know, that's a completely different quote. That is not like what happened with Ollie, where he said Rashford needs to focus on his football and not off-field activities, and the very next press conference he was forced to apologise. That is not a manager that's been forced to apologise. That's a manager that's doubling down and saying this is applicable to every player. I didn't mean just Marcus Rashford. I thought from the comment there that he'd sort of said I wasn't talking about Rashford. I was talking about everybody. He is talking about Rashford. He's admitted he was talking about Rashford. All he's saying is I'd say it about any player that does what Rashford's done, which is absolutely fine. And he's saying that we'd be a better team with Rashford in it. He's right. But at the moment, I'm not changing my mind. We would be a better team with the real Marcus Rashford in it. Anybody who doesn't agree with that, you know, I know you don't like the player, and I know you want to sell him. I want to sell him, but I'm not going to sit here and lie and say that if we had the real Paul Pogba, I'd take him back on loan. Like, if we had prime Alexis Sanchez, I would have signed him. You know, it's easy about that. Look, Rashford, good Rashford, we would be better. But we don't get good Rashford, do we? We pay for it, we don't get it. So what Amorim is basically saying is he ain't trying in training. And if anyone doesn't try in training, I would call them out as well. And he ain't coming back in my team until he does try in training. So we're sort of back where we are. Hopefully he's going to go. Parker says, coincidentally, sure. Do I think he'll go to Barcelona? Oh, God. I think it's a mistake. I think it's a mistake trying to wait on Barcelona because they're such a bloody mess. I don't know. I'd like him to go to Barcelona because I think if he goes to Barcelona and does half decent, we'll definitely be able to sell him in the summer. But if he doesn't go to Barcelona and we get stuck with him, we might be stuck with him for another 2 years. So I hope he does go to Barcelona. I just think it's a hard deal. But mate, he hasn't played football in 6 weeks. He's now got less than 6 days to find a club, and he's got to do it. Josh says, I'm seeing a lot of Pogba on my Twitter timeline. Hopefully it's all smoke, no fire. Amorim is smart enough not to go there. Mate, Josh, I'll fall off this chair if we go for Pogba. I can't say enough that I like Paul Pogba. I've always liked the talent, but it ain't there anymore. He ain't played for a long, long time. Parker says, coincidentally, sure is training when Dorgu arrives. Yeah. Would you rather continue with the Ineos plan and maybe someday with the Premier League title, or get Qatar straight in and 100% win the title in 10 years? Says MC. It's a horrible question, MC, because I think I've always said it's not really Qatar for me. It was removing the Glazers, clearing the debts, and an owner putting money into the club. Qatar lost, so they're irrelevant. But if you're saying to me, if somebody came along tomorrow and would clear the debt, get rid of the Glazers and pump money into the club, would I take it over this? Yes. I think it's unfair to say would you take Qatar? Because it's not really about Qatar. Like they didn't win. But yes, 100%, I would take an owner that came in, cleared the debt, got rid of the Glazers and put money into the club. 100%, I would take that over what we've got at the moment, yes. Bram's just gifted a membership. What's your opinion on Collier, says Abhishek. I like Collier. I said it in the summer, I like Collier. I think there's a lot of potential there. I think it was a bit sad that that he got that injury because he was playing under Ten Hag, but he's back now and he's better than Casemiro. I mean, look, have you read this? It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. It's coming in from, I'll give them a shout out because, to be fair, I haven't seen many other aggregators pick up on it yet. And it's coming in from somebody that's got a hell of a lot of influence, really. I think they're the chief editor at AS. Now, AS gets a lot of... they're a bit hit and miss, but I mean, it's Thomas Ranquero, and he's got 2 million followers on social media and good connections with Real Madrid. Obviously, Casemiro played for Real Madrid. This is what he is saying today. Casemiro accepts his situation at Manchester United with peace of mind, but does not consider leaving the team, the fans and his teammates now in January. Casemiro willingly accepts that Amorim prefers other players. I mean, how do you interpret that? How do you interpret that? And how do you not interpret it in the way that I do? He accepts his situation with calmness, peace of mind, but he doesn't want to leave and accepts that Amorim prefers other players. So basically, if that's true, he doesn't mind not leaving in January and doesn't want to, and doesn't mind that that he's not going to get picked. I mean, basically, he's a mercenary. If that's true, he's a mercenary. I don't know why Casemiro gets treated so well compared to people like, well, many other players. For one, Marcus Rashford. I don't know what it is about Casemiro, but he has this protection shield around him in our fan base, and I don't know why. He's literally sat there, the biggest. And look, I'm not saying everybody slag off Casemiro, but he is our biggest earner at the football club. He is on huge money. His wage stops us having to sell Garnacho. Probably helps us bring in Tel on loan. If Casemiro wasn't here, we wouldn't need to get rid of Garnacho. We would be able to get Tel. So it surprises me that it doesn't get spoken about enough. It surprises me that nobody really talks about it because he is the biggest earner at the football club, sat on his arse, apparently happy to do it. Apparently happy to sit there being the best paid fan in the world. He's happy to sit there and watch. The ultimate cuckold. It's a joke. It's an absolute joke. And I think that's, really disappointing if true. I've always had I'm ultimately really disappointed, if I'm being honest, because he was one of my favourite holding midfielders. Sorry, I read something else there about another thing I'll talk to you about in a minute. He was one of my favourite players, full stop. There was a time when he was at Real Madrid where I would say comfortably best holding midfielder in the world. And when we bought him, I was a little bit worried, but I was like, I still really like the player. A bit like when we bought Varane. But I'm really disappointed. I'm really disappointed. I mean, how old is he? How old is Casemiro? I mean, I think he's 33 now, to be fair, but 32. He's 33 next month. I was always in love. Not love's not the right words. I was always in admiration when we bought Casemiro about how he learns the language of the country he's playing in, so he can speak to referees and influence them and get to know them. And he absolutely loves football. That's all he cares about. He watches loads of football. We all read it, and I'm just really surprised that he's happy to. Well, I can think of 350,000 reasons why somebody might be just happy to sit there and be a cheerleader, but it's disappointing. It is disappointing, and it must be really frustrating for Amorim Barada and Ineos, that you've got all that money that could make a massive... I mean, 350k a week makes a massive difference. It's $1 million very quickly. 2.5 weeks and it's £1 million. So it makes it a lot. It does. It does make it a lot. Pogba's on the wind-up. First picture is Miami. Second, the small pink circles. More likely going to play with Messi and co. Adding in Ahmad is a wind-up, says Shane20. Richard Magson says, Mark, love what you do. Had some very sad news, so I have to fly back to Canada as my father has passed away. A United whom saw best law in childhood. A United fan, I think you meant to say. Richard, thoughts are with you, mate. And I'm sure I can see people in the chat already doing it because I hadn't read it. But yeah, thank you very much for sharing that with us. You're part of the community, and safe trip back, and obviously thoughts with you and your family at this most difficult time. Sad to hear that, Richard. Dejan says, the best of Rashford is arguably the best left winger in the world. I won't go that far. But he isn't at his best and hasn't been for a long time, so people should start thinking with their head instead of their hearts and realise he has to go. Yeah. Is there a penalty to pay for mutually terminating the contracts of Rashford and Casemiro, says Brian B? Well, there is. It's about... I mean, Casemiro's got 2 years left on his deal at £1.4 million a month. I can't do the maths on that. It's well over 30 million quid. So, yeah, we can't even do it, Brian. Andre says, did you see the Owenstein and Scholes conversation over Rashford? I personally think it's over this transfer window. I don't think he's leaving, says Andre. No, and it's very disappointed if I'd be very disappointed if he doesn't leave, because we know what happens then. At some point in February, he's back in the team, isn't he? And we don't move on. And I don't know who you blame for that, really. I don't know who you blame for that. But it'll be very disappointing, very, very disappointing if he stays, because to have it flirted that he's going all month and then him end up staying would just be very unsatisfying, really. Pogba, we've done that from Shane as well. Appreciate that. There is a little bit from Romano on Garnacho as well. I have got some quotes coming in Amorim as well, which I'll read you because he is actually doing his press conference at the moment. There is some news on Garnacho from Fabrizio Romano, basically saying that Napoli have said that if Man United lower the price, they are still very interested in Garnacho. We cannot lower the price. I mean, I think it's very obvious that Napoli are going to spend about £45 million replacing Kvaratskhelia. They're in a bloody title race. They need to do that. I think they've got Adeyemi as option 2, but we can't lower that price. We can't sell. I think 60 million for Garnacho is stupid. Some of you don't. 45 million is just ridiculous. So that can't happen at all, really. We can't drop that price down. And hopefully, look, I think there's an interesting thing going on with Tel, actually, because there's a lot. I think it's going to be a very interesting last few days of the window. I think the fact that Arsenal are bidding £74 million for Ollie Watkins might prick up the ears of Chelsea, who also need a striker as well, because they want Duran. Villa aren't going to sell both their strikers. They don't want to sell either of them. So I think there's some sort of there's something going on there. But it's interesting, isn't it, how Ollie Watkins is nearly 30, I think. I was looking at this. Ollie Watkins is 29. He'll be 30 this year. And Arsenal are offering £60 million for a 30-year-old. So if that is true, and I've got no reason to think it's not, and it's gone up to 75 or 70 million, then why are we selling 20-year-olds for 60? It's crazy what could happen in the next few days. And I'm just saying to Ineos, if you're thinking about selling Garnacho and you need money, I'd be talking about that Watkins deal straight away. I'd be going, hold on a minute. If Arsenal are going in at 60 million for a 29-year-old, I think we'll have at least 60 million for a 20-year-old. But there's a lot of desperate things to be done, isn't there? And I just don't know how we're going to figure into that. I think if Chelsea go for a striker as well, maybe they don't go for Garnacho, and maybe they don't go for Tel, and maybe that leaves it open to us. What I'm trying to do is, and I'm sure we're all the same, I'm trying to figure out these last few days, and I'm looking at Arsenal. They desperately want a striker. I can't see them backing down on Watkins now. I think they're going to pay what they're going to pay. Funny thing is, if you listen to the podcast, Goldbridge Saves Football, or you watch That's Football, I've been saying for about 18 months, if you put a striker like Ollie Watkins up front for Arsenal, they'll win the league. So I'm a bit worried now, because if they actually put Ollie Watkins up front, it's going to run the test. But I think that if Watkins goes to Arsenal and Chelsea bring a striker in and Tel leaves Bayern, I'd fancy him to come to us over Spurs. I'm sort of looking at it like that. But then we would need to move Rashford out, because we can't sell Garnacho to Napoli for 45 million. So your mind's doing, football arithmetics, mental gymnastics about how this is going to play out. We'll have to wait and see. I love this community that Mark has built, says Richard. Even if we are divided by opinion, we're all united in life when a curveball hits home. Thank you for all your support. That's from Richard, who's obviously had some sad news about his dad and he's flying back to Casemiro. Sulai says, Casemiro deserves some respect. The club gave him the dollars. Says Sulai. No, Sully, I sort of get it. If you're on 350k a week and you've got a 2-year contract and no one's going to offer you that money anywhere else, you've got a right to sit on your arse. But you are a mercenary. You might be a justifiable mercenary, but you are. If you're choosing to sit on your arse for 2 years on 350k because no one else will give you that, but you're not going to play football, you're a mercenary, aren't you? Some people will look at it and go, I'm only here once. I've had a good career, but I think I could play competitive. Look, it's easy for me to sit here and say, if I was in Casemiro's shoes, I'd look in my bank account, I'd go, I'm rich enough anyway, I just want to play football. Where can I play football? Even for 4 months. Can I go and play football somewhere for 4 months? And then I can prove that I can get a move in the summer, but he doesn't seem to want to do that. Tanai says, even if Rashford doesn't go, I feel Amorim won't back out now, especially if it gets decent results as the fans, ex-players are criticising Rashford and not Rubin, says Tanai. Thank you very much for that. A few more comments to bring you that are coming out from the Amorim press conference. If Rashford will change, we are more than happy to have Rashford, but we have set standards. It's not personal. I suppose in a very clinical, cynical way, he's not wrong, is he? I know a lot of you don't want Rashford back, and I certainly think he should change. He needs a change. I don't see him changing long-term, staying at Manchester United. But he said, I've got nothing against him, I just have to make the same rules for everybody. But I think it's best for everybody to part ways. I really, really do. But there is a possibility that he doesn't go. It's been spoken about before. Really, really it has. Do you think he'll go? I don't know what's going to happen in the next few days. That's exciting in itself. I don't actually know what's going to happen in the next few days. Garnacho could still go. Tel could come in. Somebody else could come in. Rashford could go. It's obviously chaotic out there because even Arsenal, one of the most stable clubs in the Premier League over the last 3 years, are doing strange things on the night of a Champions League. I'm just looking at Sam C, who works on the United Stand. He says, Aston Villa are unhappy with the way Arsenal are going about things. Arsenal's first bid was turned down and internal discussions ongoing about a second one. Arteta's a huge fan. But the reason we're talking about Ollie Watkins here is because it's chaos in the last few days of the windows, and it tends to... It's a domino effect, isn't it? I remember Fabrizio saying this to us years ago. One big transfer happens and suddenly everyone else sort of reacts to that. Villa would have to react to that. Chelsea would want to react to that. And as things start toppling around, people start doing silly things. And you look at it and you go, is there a way that Man United can position themselves? I'll tell you what, Arsenal. Right, I've just got to get a straight face here. If anyone wants to clip anything, get ready. I've got to do this and make it convincing. This is my Oscar coming in. Okay. So don't worry, there'll be hundreds of people who are just coming in now. I'll tell you what. You know what? Arsenal putting that bid in for Ollie Watkins is interesting because I've always said you put Ollie Watkins up front for Arsenal and they'll win the league. But look, they've had a bid rejected for £60 million. He's 29. He's good, but you can't go any higher than that. I'll tell you what Arsenal should do. £40 million. Marcus Rashford. He'll score goals in that Arsenal team. I'm telling you now. If I'm Arsenal, I'm not bidding again for Watkins. I'm getting straight on the phone and I'm going, Man United, £40 million. There it is, Marcus Rashford. What do you say? And I tell you what, reluctantly, I think I'd do the deal. And I think it'd be a great deal for Arsenal as well. So if they've got that money in their pocket for Watkins, remember he's 30 this year. Marcus Rashford's 27. I think in an Arsenal shirt, you'd get Rashford reborn. And you get him for cheaper as well. And he's younger. And I'd be all over it. All over it. Absolutely great deal. Cut. Any questions about the game? Are they all about Rashford or maybe new signings? John, I'm not watching the press conference at the moment. I'm going to watch it later and do a reaction after the Champions League games, which I'm going to have to go for in a minute. Mark Dennehy's gifted 5 memberships. You're an absolute legend. What about Rashford to Villa, says Smoggy? I don't know. Richard Magson's a new member. Richard, safe travels. But look, that's where we are at the moment. I think we're sort of in this holding ground at the moment, are we? Where I'm not convinced about this Tel deal, but if certain things happen at other clubs, I know Arsenal are interested and Chelsea are interested. If they end up getting other people, maybe there is a loan. We've got a good relationship with Bayern Munich. So I'm sort of keeping an eye on that. Still worried about Garnacho. Still hopeful Rashford will get a move. So there's a lot of stuff going on at the moment. But I think it's, you know, as much as you want to get excited, there is also nervousness around it as well. So, yeah, I'm interested to see how it's going to pan out because it could go multiple ways. And as I say, it's not just us doing weird things in this transfer market. It's a really weird night. I mean, I'm going to talk about the Ollie Watkins thing more on the That's Football in a few minutes' time. But... yeah, it's, I mean, look, Marcus Rashford, I mean, I don't know where this is coming in from. Is this real? This is breaking, right? This is big. Marcus Rashford and Ruben Amorim's relationship is completely broken. Don't know where it's coming in from. Don't know whether it's coming in from a tweet, but that is literally just dropped. I've just read that. Marcus Rashford and Ruben Amorim's relationship is completely broken from the best transfer journalist in the world, Fabrizio Romano. So that is literally just landed in the last few seconds. So I think it must be from his YouTube channel or something, but I've just seen it on our aggregator account. So yeah, interesting. Very, very interesting. Well, we'll leave it at that. How many signings do we really need this January? This is hurtful. I'd like one more. Yeah. Patrice Evra says, did you call Dorgu the next me yesterday? I said, I hope he's the next you because you were a legend. Brilliant left back. Yeah. We've got to get rid of Rashford, haven't we? That is Ineos's #1 job. They've got to get Rashford out. If the relationship between Amorim and Rashford, and remember it's a 50-50, I don't think people ever look at the player. I always said this about Sancho. It was always about what Ten Hag thought about Sancho. But I know for a fact that Sancho wanted out of Man United as well. There was a lot of people who piled on Ten Hag about the Sancho situation. But Sancho wanted to go as well. He'd had enough. And remember, there are 2 people in this. The press can keep asking in every press conference. They can keep asking Amorim 5 or 6 questions about Rashford. But let's not forget, Marcus Rashford's no shrinking violet. He's got one of the best PR teams around him. He's got a personality. You know, if somebody says publicly he's lazy, do you think Marcus Rashford's thinking, please give me another chance? I think there's 2 sides in this. I think it is broken and Ineos need to save it for everybody and move him on. Anyway, we are going to be live very, very quickly. Very excited about this. It'll be great tomorrow night for ours, final day of the Europa League, where we're going to finish. But we've got the biggest league table we've ever had on That's Football. It's got 36 teams in it. And we're ready to go. I'm going to be there in 6 minutes' time on That's Football. We can talk about the Ollie Watkins deal as well, because it is That's Football. Absolute legends. We have got a reaction to the press conference coming up after the Champions League about 10 o'clock tonight as well. So get ready for that. I'll see you over on That's Football in about 5 minutes' time. Get ready. It's going to be exciting. Final night of the Champions League. For the first time. Let's witness it. I'll see you there in a minute.